Hello and welcome back to Mikey's Flightdeck. Today I will show you how you can build annunciator boxes for your overhead panels. Some words first about the things I've planned for this video here. You have to take into consideration that the real annunciator boxes in the Boeing overhead panels have a push functionality. And this means that you can push onto the annunciator and then the light goes on. So you can check if the LED inside is broken. My annunciator boxes will not have this push function. They will only have the LED built in. And let me explain why I will do this. I think when I want to test if any light is broken in the simulator, I can send a test signal via the MobiFlight test function, or even bring some power manually to this LED. Yeah, I think it won't take the simulation to another level of realism when I really simulate the failure of those lights here. And so I decided to let them be only a light in the cockpit. So let's have a look at the constructions. What I have constructed as the annunciator box is a high and small box here. And at the bottom of the box there are 4 latches which will hold a PCB, and they prevent the PCB from sliding down here in the box when you insert it. And you have a little groove to get this PCB out again. At the top of the box there sits the holder for the engraved acrylic plate, and the plate will just be inserted here, and so the maximum amount of light can reach this plate. After printing out all the parts, I cleaned them and glued them together. Who likes finger food? You might have seen when I'm painting small parts, I often glue them onto a screw on a wooden plate to prevent them from being blown away from the air gun. But it is always difficult to ensure that every part is painted from every angle, and when you try to do this, then you get into the risk that other parts might get too much paint. And so this time I decided to mount every annunciator on a wooden stick so I can turn it around, paint it, and for drying I will push it into a foam block. I applied a coat of primer and then covered them with black lacquer. On these parts I've tried to airbrush for the first time, and I've bought only a very cheap airbrush pistol here, and what can I say, I come out with good results. I used the primer first and then the final black paint, and you can paint really fine with these airbrush guns and also control the result while you're painting. But don't try to paint normal lacquer with such an air gun, because the opening of such an air gun is from 0.5 millimeters down to 0.2 millimeters, and the lacquer, you can watch the datasheet of the lacquer, needs an opening of a minimum of 1.5 millimeters. So even if you thin the lacquer, it will stuck in the opening of your airbrush pistol. Believe me, I've tried this. To make the annunciator plates,
I've made a drawing and exported it as an DXF file. And these rectangles here are 1/10 of an inch smaller than the opening of my annunciator box to let them easily slide in there. I've arranged them so that I can use the working width of my CNC, and there are not too much of them because even these parts here will take nearly 3 hours to engrave and cut on my CNC machine. I have already shown you how you can place text and engrave it in my EFIS video, but I will show you this again here in a compressed version so that you get a sense of what you have to do when you want to make such panels here. Every text will be aligned in the left bottom corner here of each panel, and I choose the text tool and click on this point here, and then I enter the text, for example, low pressure, and I assign the font, which is Futura Condensed. I will choose center text, insert a font size, which I will change to 3.2 millimeters. And my text width will be 22 millimeters. I will engrave it as pocket inside, and the engraving depth will be 0.2 millimeters. Don't forget to choose the engraving bit. I use a 30-degree engraving bit, and I explode the text object so that I can easily move it around. Then I mark the text and move it 5.5 millimeters. So I think this looks really centered here in the panel. And this is what you have to do with every other panel too. The prepared pieces of acrylic are painted black.
So here we are with a good finish of this black spray paint, and now it's time to engrave and cut out all these annunciator plates. As I said in the last video, when you want to engrave in a panel here, then you need a sacrificial layer which is perfectly aligned to all the axes here. I have made one sacrificial layer, and this I will use only for engraving, so the plate surface will be ever ready and finished. This sacrificial layer here will be used for engraving and cutting steps. And so I can cut in here from time to time, and I have to renew the surface then.
The acrylic is fixed to the working surface by the tape and superglue method I described in my last video.
When I have mounted all these plates into the annunciator boxes, there can be still the possibility that light can shine through this gap between the edges. Some people are painting the plates black all around the edges, but I have the fear that when I do this, the additional paint on the edges will make the plate fit in here too tight so that I couldn't be able to get it in here anymore. So I decided to install them first in here, and then I have prepared an LED which I can hold to the back of the box and then control the result if there is any light shining through, and if so, I will add some additional paint on the edge and especially into this gap here, and control the result again, and when no light is coming through there anymore, then it is finished and ready for the last varnish. You can predict which part of the Boeing systems will have a failure during a flight, but you can be sure they have an annunciator for it.
Now it's time to engrave the blue plates.
This is my second try to make these blue labels here. On my first try I made the engraving only 0.2 millimeters deep, as deep as I would do it when I engrave a normal painted surface. But when you make it this deep, then you are running into trouble that you wipe out the wax again when you are cleaning the surface, and it was nearly impossible to come out with a clear font here. So now I have done the engraving 0.4 millimeters, and this gave enough room for the wax to hold inside of this acrylic plate here.
You clean the plates with thinner, rub the wax in and clean again.
Now I have to add the LEDs inside the annunciators, and I plan to make a PCB which I can also use at the bottom of the annunciator box. I wanted to have something more heat resistant when I'm soldering in the LEDs. But I thought this could be a little bit oversized for only this small annunciator here. I already have invested much time constructing and painting and building these things, and so I didn't want to invest even more time learning PCB making and then make a PCB only for one single LED. So I searched for another and faster method of building this, and I came across these 5 by 7 centimeter prototype boards which I already had, and I thought I could cut out some forms with my CNC router which may fit exactly into the bottom of these boxes here.
To cut all the PCBs on my CNC, I draw the prototype board in Fusion and aligned the outline of the PCBs onto this board here, so that this line of hose here runs through the horizontal middle of each PCB, so I can ensure that the LED is mounted in the middle of the annunciator. I also marked the position of the lower left hole here to align the CNC at this point. For the orange annunciators, I soldered one orange LED in the middle and marked the ground pin for later connection. The blue annunciators got a blue and a white LED with a shared ground connection in the middle.
Woo! What a lot of work! Nearly 100 annunciator boxes have been soldered and built together now. And to make you able to build your own boxes, I have uploaded all the needed content to the member section of my website. There you will find the 3D model to print it out, the cutting templates for the annunciator plates here, and also the DXF files for the PCBs. Now I can start building the overhead panels, which I wanted to make earlier, but when I've seen all these panels I noticed that I won't be able to build nearly any of the panel sections without these annunciator boxes, and so I built these first. But now let's go on to some panel work. And if you don't want to miss these videos, then subscribe to my channel to stay informed about any upcoming new video from me. So I hope we'll see us soon back on the flight deck.